welcome back to part 2 of Jnanayoga. We have seen that the two major subjects that are dealt with in Jnanayoga is the search for happiness and the quest for reality. In the first part, we saw that happiness is not outside, but it is inside. It is an inner state. What is that inner state? Finally, we concluded that it is a state of immense silence. Bliss is silence, we saw. Now, we go to the second subject, quest for reality. This is also the goal of modern science. How far modern science has gone, let us look at it. In search for reality, we will see how modern science and Jnanayoga are essentially having the same goal, and modern science has reached certain level and Jnanayoga has reached certain level. In this presentation, we will try to understand these two dimensions. First, the story of these 4 wives. There was a rich merchant who had 4 wives. The 4th wife, he loved her the most. He adorned her with rich robes and treated her to delicacies. He took great care of her and gave her nothing but the best. The 3rd wife, he also loved the 3rd wife very much. He is very proud of her and always wanted to show her off to his friends. However, the merchant is always in great fear that she might run away with some other man. And the 2nd, he too loved his 2nd wife. She is a very considerate person, always patient, and in fact is the merchant's confidant. Whenever the merchant faced some problems, he always turned to his 2nd wife, and she would always help him out and tide him through difficult times. What about the 1st? Yes, now the merchant's 1st wife is a very loyal partner, and she has made great contributions in maintaining his wealth and business, as well as taking care of the household. However, the merchant did not love the 1st wife, and although she loved him deeply, he hardly took notice of her. Now, the merchant fell ill. Before long, he knew that he was going to die soon. He thought of his luxurious life and told himself, now I have 4 wives with me, but when I die, I will be alone. How lonely I will be. Thus he asked the 4th wife, I loved you the most, my dear, endowed you with the finest clothing and showered great care over you. Now that I am dying, will you follow me and keep me company? No way, replied the 4th wife, and she walked away without any word. The answer cut like a sharp knife right into the merchant's heart. The sad merchant then asked the 3rd wife, I have loved you so much for all my life, my dear. Now that I am dying, will you follow me and keep me company? No, replied the 3rd wife. Life is so good over here. I am going to remarry when you die. The merchant's heart sank and turned cold. He then asked the 2nd wife, I always turn to you for help and you have always helped me out. Now I need your help again. When I die, will you follow me and keep me company? I am sorry, dear, I can't help you this time. At the very most, I can only send you to your grave. The answer came like a bolt of thunder, and the merchant was devastated. Then a voice called out, I will leave with you I will follow you no matter where you go. The merchant looked up, and there was his first wife. She was so skinny, almost like she suffered from malnutrition. Greatly grieved, the merchant said, I should have taken much better care of you while I could have. Actually, we all have 4 wives in our lives. Who are they? The 4th wife is our physical body. No matter how much time and effort we lavish in making it look good, it will leave us when we die. Our 3rd wife is our possessions, status and wealth. When we die, they all go to others. The 2nd wife is our family and friends. No matter how close they had been there for us when we are alive, the furthest they can stay by us is up to the grave. First wife, something you can't see, is in fact our soul, often neglected in our pursuit of material wealth and sensual pleasure. It is actually the only thing that follows us wherever we go. Perhaps it is a good idea to cultivate and strengthen it now rather than to wait until we are on our deathbed to lament. What will you do about it? The least you can do is know about the same in greater depth, and that is what Jnanayoga offers. And in search for reality, modern science has started its quest 4 centuries back. Newton and Descartes rolling the ball, they wanted to find out whether there is a reality behind this diverse universe. Newton said, this world is too complicated, too sophisticated, beyond our fathom. Even we cannot understand how the rain falls, not even we know how the objects fall down. What to talk about gods and goddesses, what to talk about devils and pishachas, mystic medicines, customs and manners. Let us start understanding things which are very simple. Let us see whether we can understand the physical world in its totality. Can we find out the base of this physical universe? Once we complete this understanding, we then proceed to understand things which are beyond the physical, to understand what is prana and so on. Well, breakthroughs after breakthroughs, the brilliant minds, the Nobel laureates, after 4 centuries, we are now in a fortunate position where we understand everything about the physical universe. What is this made out of? It's all molecules, atoms. What are the atoms made out of? Electrons, protons, neutrons. What are these fundamental particles made out of? Energy. They are called quarks. So matter is nothing but bottled up energy. 4 centuries back we thought there are 2 distinct building bricks of this universe, matter and energy. Thanks to Einstein, the theory of relativity, we understood that energy is at the base. Precisely we can calculate how much of is contained in given matter. E equals mc square. E is the energy, m is the mass, c is the velocity of light. Tremendous amount of energy is packed into so-called inert matter. For example, if I convert this into energy, the amount of energy may be enough to blast half the city of Bangalore with 60 lakhs of people, 6 million people living in Bangalore, half of that can be smashed. Such is the tremendous amount of energy packed into so-called inert matter. We all understood that. Then what are the laws that govern them? For normal speeds, we have classical mechanics, the Newtonian mechanics, the 3 laws of motion that we all have studied. But when you go to extremely high speeds, we have more generalized laws, quantum mechanics. So we have fathomed the totality of this entire physical universe. We know what is this made out of, what are the laws that govern them. We have found the unity in this diverse physical universe. All that we see, whether it is this table, whether it is this pen, whether this entire building, whether it is the whole of the physical universe, everything is energy and the laws that govern them. Therefore, we have been a big success in dealing with physical objects. We have been of tremendous success in putting man on the moon, building skyscrapers, underwater tunnels, information technology, and the whole globe has been shrunk into a small village thanks to this modern technology. We have been able to have very sophisticated surgeries, cornea transplant, kidney transplant, open heart surgeries, all that physical. But now what is happening to science? In search for reality, we now are proceeding further to understand what is beyond the physical. And we are in the turning point, as Fritz of Capra wrote in 1974 in his bestseller, which sold in millions all over the world. There was new opening of minds. There was a new understanding, a transition, a turning point from the matter-based approach towards the consciousness-based approach. We started trying to understand what is prana. Is there something like mind apart from the brain and its functioning? Or emotions different from mind? What is it that we call as intellect? And is there consciousness different from what we observe in the body in the living system? So we are entering into the subtler world. We are moving into very, very subtler questions, very sophisticated questions. And in this realm, we are in a very preliminary stage. We are in an embryonic stage. And we had the great minds like Professor Josephson, probably the youngest Nobel laureate of the whole universe, at the University of Cambridge, who acquired his Nobel laureate. He got his Nobel Prize at the age of 29. He always talks about beyond quantum physics. When I visited him in his house, there is a beautiful library full of books on Sanskrit, Shaddarshanas, Yoga and Upanishads. I asked him, why are you keeping these books? Is it your hobby? He says, no, these are the books which give me direction to modern science. Wherever he goes, he talks beyond quantum physics. Fritz of Capra, in his bestseller, always talked about the Eastern wisdom. His Tao of Physics is a wonderful book which he talked about. And how is it that the Upanishads give the direction for modern science? Because the Upanishads, which form the essence of Jnanayoga, the Jnanayoga is derived from the books called Upanishads, and in Upanishads they had fathomed the totality of this whole universe, not only the physical, but the entire creation. And it is this wisdom that is contained in the Upanishads which give us the direction. And here is the Taittiriya Upanishad trying to give us a glimpse of the research that underwent between the student trying to unravel the mystery guided by his teacher. The name of the student was Bhrigu and the teacher was Varuna. The student goes to teacher Varuna and tells, sir, please let me know reality. I have come here to understand what is that reality, what is that Brahman. And the teacher, in the regular traditional approach of Upanishads, which is extremely akin to modern science, doesn't give him an answer. He says, all right, you want to know about Brahman? Go and do tapas. Do the experiment. Tapasa brahma vijignasasva tapo brahmeti, he said. By experimentation, by tapas, by penance, you'll be to know about Brahman. Please go and search inside. Well, how to do the experiment? How to do tapas? he has to get a guidance. Therefore, he says, find out a principle in you because of which whole creation comes up. It is that same thing because of which we are all sustained. It is into that same principle that we all go back. Yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisamvishanti iti tad vijignasasva tad brahmeti. That is reality. That is Brahman. Okay, now he goes back and he started thinking, oh, what is that principle in me because of which I am born? What is it that sustains me? And what is it into which I go back? He started thinking. And as he started thinking and thinking, suddenly the flash occurs, the Eureka of Archimedes, and he jumps with joy and runs to his teacher. Sir, I have found it, I have found it. Ha vu ha vu ha vu ahamannam ahamannam ahamannam. I am that anna, I am that matter principle, I am the food that I take. Look at the body. What is this body made out of? Atoms, molecules, matter, food. What sustains me is the food that I take. And if I don't take the food, if I deny food for myself, the body will die, it will go back to the ashes, which again is matter. Therefore, I conclude, sir, that I am nothing but matter, I am nothing but anna, I am nothing but atoms and molecules. Annam brahmeti vyajanat. I am that anna. Annadhyeva khal vimani bhutani jayante. The whole universe is nothing but matter. Annadhyeva khal vimani bhutani jayante. Annena jatani jivanti. Annam prayanti abhisamvishanti iti. It is all sustained by matter. The forces in the physical universe, and into matter back we go. There is conservation of energy, there is conservation of matter, and we all go back to the same physical matter. Therefore, I conclude, sir, that I am anna. Punareva varunam pitarapupasasara adhihi bhagavo brahmeti. Please let me know, sir, whether I am right, whether matter is Brahman, whether Brahman is anna, the food principle. Now the teacher is very happy, he appreciates, wonderful, wonderful, you have done a great job, but my dear, you have to go find out what is at the base of this matter. Tapasa brahma vijignasasva. Do deeper experiments, subtle experiments, observe very carefully, and come back to tell me what is Brahman. The student is sent back. The student Bhrugu goes back. Satapo tapyata satapas taptvam. Having done the tapas, he started trying to contemplate what is there beyond the physical body. I remember one afternoon, one of our very close friends, very old person who had crossed 90, was sleeping in the bed after a good meal. He had some heart problem, and it was 4 o'clock. He and his wife sleeping, they were not getting up. The daughter comes and says, Father, please come up, mother, please come up. You know, we have to go 5 o'clock to a special meeting, special party. And the mother slowly wakes up, but the father doesn't. Tested, he is no more. The body has dead. There are two bodies. One is the dead body, another living body. Atoms and molecules are same, anna is the same, but what is the difference? The student understood. I am prana. Prano brahmeti vyajanat. The difference between a dead and a living body is that prana is that living principle, entity. Therefore, he runs back to his teacher with great ecstasy. Sir, I found the real result now. Prano brahmeti vyajanat. Pranadhyeva kalvimani bhutani jayante pranena jatani jivanti pranam prayanti abhisamvishanti iti tadvignaya punareva varunam pitaramupasasara adhihi bhagavo brahmeti. Sir, please let me know whether I am right. It is the prana from where we are born. It is the prana that sustains us. It is the prana into which we go back. What is the answer of the teacher? Teacher says, my dear, you have done very well. That's wonderful, beautiful. You have gone quite deep, but you have to go further. Find out from where the prana gets its propelling force. What is it that is beyond the prana? And the student is sent back. Please do further tapas, subtler tapas, deeper experiments. Quietly the student goes, and now he starts contemplating what is it that beyond the prana. I remember one of our very close friends, a brilliant student who was doing his medical. He had completed with great laurels. He got the first rank in his medical final year. He was doing the residency. His father was very happy. The only son, and he gave him a beautiful Hero Honda motorcycle. And he was roaming around, enjoying his life while doing his residency. One day, he was trying to go to Mysore, and when he started, he found a truck in front of him and putting out the diesel gas and smoke. It was terrible. He was trying to overtake, and the lorry was going top speed, 80-85 kilometers, and he was trying to overtake. He could not, and the lorry fellow also didn't slow down and give him the way. Went on and on for almost 20 minutes. The boy lost his patience. He said, come what may, I am going to now cross and overtake him. And he started honking and started raising acceleration and started going faster and started overtaking. Unfortunately, it was a curve. He could not see what was happening from the other side. And the worst thing happened. The truck who came from the other side, there was a head-on collision, and the fellow got a big hit. He lay unconscious there. And his friends got the news and brought him, put him into NIMHANS, National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences. And Dr. Verma, the big surgeon at that time, did the surgery quickly, and he was hopeful that he will come back to normalcy. He had not regained his unconsciousness, and his father got the shocking news, came and sat by his son, caressing him, hopefully trying to see that he comes back. His friends came every day. They were coming and visiting him. 1 week passed, 3 weeks passed, 2 months passed now. Everybody's standard question was, when the boy is going to come back to normalcy? They all started asking Dr. Verma, the director of the NIMHANS at that time. Dr. Verma's standard reply, it is nobody's guess. It may take 4 months, it may take 6 months, it may take 9 months, and it is not in our hands. He may come back to life or may not. The body was there, the prana was there, but what is the missing link? The mind. The prana, the mind, it is the mind. Mano brahmeti vyajanat. Immediately the student found the answer. Yes, I may have the body, I may have the prana, but still my mind, when it is not there, it is equivalent to dead. What is the point in that life of vegetation? Just like a vegetable. So he comes to his teacher, Varuna, and asks whether I am right. Sir, it is the mind that is important, then the prana and the body. And teacher incidentally was his father. His name was Varuna. And the Varuna quietly says, as if he knew nothing else, Tapasa brahma vijignasasva tapo brahmeti. Continue the tapas, continue the experiment, continue the deeper subtle swatch. Go further. The student comes back, this time starts contemplating. and trying to find out from where the mind is getting its sustenance, from where the mind is getting all its direction. As he starts thinking and thinking, he started going deeper and deeper. The experiment started becoming very subtle, very sophisticated, and he has started elevating himself to greater levels of sensitivity, examining himself with greater care, all that he started doing. I remember a case, a brilliant boy who came to Prashanti Kutiram for a treatment. He was first in first throughout his career, SSLC first rank, +2, he topped the list. He joined engineering, first year, second year, he topped the list again. Third year something happened to this boy and he could not concentrate, he could not remember, and things went so worse. He continued and it went on aggravating, and he thought he will be soon well, but it did not happen. He lost almost his memory, and in the third year examination the worst happened. He totally bunked, failed miserably. He got the single digit marks in every subject. Imagine a person who is always topping the list, almost centum he was scoring, the man gets single digit marks. The biggest shock, and he could not take it. The anxieties increased, the tension increased, and he got depressed, and the psychiatrist started treating him with tablets, antidepressants, and so on. One after another tablets were added, but he was finding no improvement. He continued for 8 months, and somebody said in Imhans, "Hey, why don't you try yoga? Go to Dr. Nagendra." And that's how he landed up here in Prashanti Kutiram, where we have our Arogya Dhama, health home. He stayed with us for 4 weeks, and when he came, I remember he had 16 tablets. His memory hardly existed. He could not read the book, and the boy started going back wonderfully well with a regained concentration and memory. At the end of the 4 weeks, when he was going back, I asked him, "My dear boy, please see that you continue your yoga practices without fail." He promised me, "Yes, I will do." But before I go, I have another question for you. See here, from morning till night, from morning 4:30 up to 10 o'clock, we have varieties and varieties of yoga practices taught to you. Early morning we start off with a meditation, then we have the breathing practice and the asanas, then we go for the karma yoga, we have the pratasmaran, then we have karma yoga after the breakfast, then you come here and the doctors will do all the parametric measurements, then we have the pranayama session. After pranayama we have got the lectures, the special techniques, the cyclic meditation, and in the evening you go for a stroll and come back to deal with your emotions through the devotional session, and after evening dinner you come for a happy assembly and trataka, and you go to bed by 10. Among all this yoga practice that you learnt here, please tell me which yoga practice helped you most. The boy was very brilliant. He started scratching his head. Well, I think, sir, I understood my mind. That's what worked for me. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean by understanding your mind? Sir, after hearing your lecture, after hearing lecture of Dr. Nagarachan and others here, I understood that my mind has started running like a riot. It was so fast, like a supersonic jet fighter. What do you mean? What do you mean by running riot and so fast? Sir, I will speak the first sentence. Before I speak the second sentence, there are 1,000 thoughts in my mind, and therefore my second sentence which I spoke has no relation to the first, and there was breaking down of logic, and the third sentence has no relation to the second. Therefore, when I talked, I myself was not knowing what I was talking. I was just blabbering. How can any other person understand me? This is called neuroticism. Once I understood all the practices of yoga, breathing practice, asanas, kriyas, mudras, bandhas, the Jnanayoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, all that I learnt here worked immensely well. Day after day my mind started becoming calmer and calmer. My speed reduced from 1,000 thoughts to 100 thoughts, 50 thoughts, and a week back there was only 1 or 2 thoughts. I started regaining my concentration absolutely. I tapered off all my medicine to only half a tablet under the guidance of Dr. Nagaratna, and now I am going back with immense confidence. I have regained my concentration, I have regained my memory, and I am sure that I will be able to stop my medication and also go well. He went back within another 10 days, he stopped half the tablet as well, and the third year he got 80% marks, and in the fourth year he got the second position, and in the final year, it was 5 years course at that time, he topped the list again. The boy took up computers later and is doing very well. What happened now? When he came to Prashanti, he had his prana, he had his body, he had his mind, but something was missing. What is it? The controller of the mind. It had gone unabated. It was the intellect. It is called Vijnana. Vijnanam brahmeti vyajanat. The Bhrigu ran to Varuna, his teacher, and said, "Sir, unless I have the intellect controlling my mind, the mind can go run riot like the super speed uncontrolled mind of that brilliant boy who always used to top the list, but how he lost all his moorings. Therefore, it is the intellect that controls the mind. It is the Vijnana that is most important, and therefore Vijnana is Brahma. Therefore, I conclude, sir, that it is this discrimination power, this power of analysis, this intellect, this buddhi, this Vijnana, which is Brahman. It is from this Vijnana the whole universe comes, and it is sustained and goes back to the Vijnana. I consider, sir, please tell me whether I am right." His father, Varuna, again said, "Well, you have come almost to the last stage of your investigation. I am extremely happy about your progress. I congratulate you for going so deep in your experiment, but please continue. Find out from where this intellect emerges. Find out the source from where this power of discrimination. Find out the source from where this tremendous amount of Vijnana is blossoming up." And the student is sent back. The Bhrigu goes back and he started doing his tapas. Satapo tapyatam satapas taptvam. He started doing his tapas, continued his tapas, started investigating and trying to find out from where those thoughts are emerging, from where that directive mind, the buddhi, that analytical mind, that discriminative mind, that power of the intellect, that power of Vijnana, all those are coming. He is trying to find out the source. He is going deeper and deeper in meditation and trying to find out the source of the thoughts. Just like a fountain, the water is coming up, sprouting up wonderfully, and the engineer is trying to find out the source from where the fountain is coming. And as he started meditating, as he started staying more and more, trying to find out the source, then comes the realization that there is a tremendous explosion inside and that immense silence, and it is from that state of all pervasive silence, it is from state of wonderful calmness and peace that the thoughts emerge. He understood there is a field of silence where the thoughts have not yet come up. It is the field of immense potentia from where all the discrimination power is blossoming. And this time something else happened. Bhrigu did not come to his teacher. Varuna was wondering what happened, why my boy has not come. Probably he went in search of him. And there he sees him, his student, his beloved Bhrigu, the brilliant investigator, the great experimenter, sitting there in immense silence. Saparame vyoman pratisthita. He is staying in that vast silence of his mind field, and he is very, very blissful. His face was shining with that bliss. The fragrance of bliss was blossoming out of him, and he had understood this silence is bliss. Anando brahmeti vyajanat anandadhyeva kalvimani bhutani jayante anandena jatani jivanti anandam prayanti abhisamvishanti iti. When he understood, he stayed in that ananda. Now the question arises, why did Bhrigu did not come back to the Varuna? Why did not come to get confirmation from his teacher? Because when he reached that silence, when he achieved the transcendence, when he went beyond the thoughts, there were no questions left. As long as he remained up to the Vijnanamaya Kosha level, he had questions, he had doubts, he had to go again and again to his teacher to get the confirmation. But once you go beyond the thoughts, there were no questions, there were no doubts. Vidyate hrudaya grantihi chidyante sarva samshayaha kshiyante chasya karmani tasmin drushte paravare, says Yama, the Lord of Death, to his student Nachiketa in Kathopanishad. When a person gets this realization, when he gets this pure experience, then all doubts vanish from his mind, and all his granthis and knots and blocks all get opened up, all the chakras get crossed, and that is the wonderful state, and that is the ananda, that is the source of all thoughts. And this state of silence is called samadhi. It is featured by immense bliss, and that state of immense bliss, where there are no thoughts, there are no doubts there are no questions asked there, it is all silence, and it is the causal state of all creation. The speciality is that this state of silence is the state of immense bliss. It is the source of the intellect, it is the source of all thoughts. It is from this parame vyoman, that all pervasive vyoman is space, call it mind field or mind potentia, the whole set of thoughts come, the whole creation occurs. That is the realization he got, and with that understanding, now he had understood the 5-layered existence of the human beings. We all have these 5 layers: the physical body, called as Annamaya Kosha, the Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. And this 5-layered existence is our totality of experience. All of us are very much aware of the physical body, but we don't see the other bodies. Those are the unseen layers, and these unseen layers normally are not known. But when you start doing the investigation, then you start bringing about the understanding of the 4 koshas. This is called the Pancha Kosha, the 5-layered existence. And this investigational process is called Pancha Kosha Viveka. This has been extolled in Taittiriya Upanishad, in Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka Upanishads, and gives us a wholesome picture of the whole reality. What modern science has fathomed is essentially about the physical world, but now here in Upanishads we have gone beyond the physical to understand what is prana. That is the transition in which we live today in modern science. This is the frontier area of research, and those people who understand the Upanishads, they know that now we should try to give explanations to what is prana. Can we fathom prana? Can we measure prana? Can we give more explanation to prana? And beyond that is the mind and the intellect. Beyond that is the bliss consciousness. And that is the total existence of all of us. Therefore, the first wife that the businessman saw was these four-layered existence, the unseen dimension. All the first, fourth, third and second wives that he talked about is related to the physical world, and the other unseen is the first wife. That is the most dear to us. And that's the one that remains when we leave the body. And in that field of immense pure consciousness, we have this five-layered existence, and that all-pervasive reality beyond the five koshas is called pure consciousness, Nirupadhika Brahma, and this is the Sopadhika Brahma. The reality with attributes in the five-layered existence, beyond that is the attributeless pure existence, which is all the time present, which is beyond space-time causation. Now, look at the conclusion of the Upanishads. It is very interesting to see the coincidence. Whether we search for bliss or whether we search for reality, both things lead us to the same conclusion, that is pure consciousness. Reality is that Brahman beyond the Anandamaya Kosha, which is pure existence, pure consciousness, and the search for bliss shows that it's pure silence, the pure bliss. So that is our original existence, and Anandamaya Kosha is our causal existence. And it is this causal existence, Anandamaya Kosha, Vijnana, Manomaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha is called the subtle body, the subtle existence, and physical body is the gross existence called the Sthula Sharira. Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira and Karana Sharira. Beyond that is our Swarupa, our original self. And that is beyond all words, beyond all thoughts, and therefore we call that as silence. There the thoughts have not emerged yet, the intellect has not come, the emotions have not blossomed yet, the prana has not come, and much less the physical body in the physical world. It is that pure existence, it is infinite, all-pervasive consciousness, it is unborn, it is undying, it is the immense principle of pure consciousness. It is called attributeless Brahman, but at the same time it is not a zero, it is not a shunya, because its immense potentia, it is from here the whole Panchakosha comes up. Therefore, it cannot be a simple vacuum, a zero, a shunya. Therefore, it is called fullness, Purna. Though no word can describe it, no word can give a glimpse of that. As the Upanishads themselves tell, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saham anandam brahmano vidvan na vibheti kadachaneti. It is a state beyond the words, it is beyond space, time, causation, and therefore any word that we use is no description of that ultimate reality. Therefore the best way of description, as Shankara says, is neti netyeva vakyam. It is not this, not this, not this, not this, not this. All that we know, all that is knowable, you just go on removing, and what remains is that ultimate. Therefore, even the word Purna, even the word Shunya are not adequate ways of explaining it. It is a Shunya, it is Shunya of the Shunya, it is the Purna, it is the Purna of the Purna. it is word of the words, eye of the eyes, ear of the ears, it is the whole body of the bodies. Yat chakshusha na pashyati yena chakshugumshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedai yadidam upasate. Upanishad tells us that it is not the one which can be seen either from the mortal eyes or from the inner eyes. Anything that you see is not Brahman, because it is the Brahman which makes us see, to visualize, to imagine. Therefore, it is at the back. It cannot be heard from the ears. Yat shrotrena na shrunoti yena shrotra midagum shutam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. You cannot hear the voice of the Brahman. Some people say, in our deep meditation, in my great samadhi, I heard the voice of the divine. What you have heard is from the inner ear, if not the external ear, and therefore it cannot be Brahman, because it is the Brahman that makes you hear things, and therefore it is beyond the hearing. Yan vanasana manute yenahrum manomatam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedai yadidam upasate. It is beyond the thinking. No thoughts can describe it. No thoughts can imagine, because all the power that the mind gets is from that Brahman, is from that reality. It is at the base of the mind. Only when the thoughts dissolve, only when the mind goes back to its source, we are in that state, in that original nature, that is the Swarupa, that is the Atman, that is the Brahman. Therefore, the mind cannot fathom it. Can the intellect grasp it? Not at all. Because all that the buddhi or the analysis that can grasp could only be the product of intellect, and Brahman is not a product of intellect. It is beyond the thoughts. It is beyond the analysis power. It is beyond the buddhi. It is transcendental. In fact, the buddhi gets the power from that pure consciousness. All the power of the intellect, thinking, analysis, discrimination power come from that infinite source, Brahman. Therefore, Brahman cannot be understood from the intellect, cannot be an object of analysis, cannot be an object which can be discerned, it cannot be discriminated, and that is the pure existence, that is the pure consciousness. Therefore, it is a state of Purna, it is beyond words, it is beyond all descriptions. It is a state of immense bliss, state of wonderful consciousness, state of highest existence, and that is our original nature. That is our real home, and that is the real home that we talk about. Therefore, the whole of Jnanayoga is to use the intellect to transcend the intellect. How do we do that? We start using questions to replace the gross thoughts by questioning. The randomness of the mind, the haphazardness of the mind, the chanchalata of the mind are all vanquished by asking the question. Questions like, who am I? Who am I? From where am I born? And what is my real nature? What is that reality? Questions like this, which can remove all the gross thoughts. Then you start asking deeper queries to replace the questions. When the Bhrigu came with a solution that I am this physical body, the teacher said, no, go deeper, find out from where the body comes. Then when he comes out with the answer, prana, then such queries are done by fundamental search. Find out from where the prana comes, the mind comes, the intellect comes. And finally, when he got an answer at the intellectual level, then he says, now you have to drop that search. And that's where you reach that pure consciousness. The conventional example given is that there is a thorn that has entered into your foot. You want to remove that thorn, you take a sharper and a longer thorn, remove the first thorn from your foot and throw away both the thorns. That is the approach of the Upanishads, the Jnanayoga. So we use the intellect to transcend the intellect in Jnanayoga. Now this entire knowledge based wisdom is available to in Upanishads. Somebody asked me, how many Upanishads are there? I said, sir, I don't know. I have seen 800 Upanishads in print, but there are 10 major Upanishads. Isha, Kena, Katha, Mundaka, Mandukya, Aitriya, Taitriya, Prashna, Chandogya, Bruhadaranika. And in these Upanishads we have the whole wisdom base. And the same information, the same wisdom is brought forth, compiled beautifully in the Smriti Prasthana called Bhagavad Gita. And we have selected these 18 verses from the Bhagavad Gita, and this is called the Jnanayoga Shloka Sangraha. So we will study these 18 verses to give a glimpse of the Jnanayoga. The 18 verses have been arranged in these 8 different dimensions. First 2 verses talk about the introduction to Jnanayoga. Third, eligibility of the student as well as the teacher. Dimensions of reality described in the 5 verses from 4 to 8. Qualities of a Jnani in verse number 9. Tools for growth. What are the methods of Jnanayoga which we use? 5 verses. 15th verse talks about the higher dimensions of Jnanayoga. What happens to the person at the time of death? How does he leave this Annamaya Kosha? Described in the 16th verse. And the last 2 verses talk about the ultimate goal that a Jnani reaches. The entire thing has been beautifully portrayed in the form of a schematic, and in this schematic we give the whole dimension. The first is the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and Jnana. Shravana is hearing a lecture or reading a book or watching a video, all comes under Shravana. Then having heard the lecture, you must start cogitating about it. You start logically trying to understand that, recapitulate that again and again, and question that to the maximum possible extent, and if necessary go to the teacher and then have the conversation again and again, and start getting logically convinced to start the experiment. And that experiment is Nididhyasana. The tapas which the Bhrigu did is essentially the Nididhyasana, the contemplation. Start dwelling on those truths which have been enunciated, which you are logically accepted, and this is the sadhana. This is the deep meditation, this is the deep contemplation of the Jnanayoga. As you go deeper and deeper into the meditation, you start unraveling higher and higher dimensions, and you come to that conclusion that I am that Anandamaya Kosha, the Jnana. We are that infinite consciousness, we are that Atman, we are that Brahman. You get a glimpse of that, and that is the Jnana, often called as realization. The Jnanayoga doesn't stop there. Then this Jnana has to be stabilized. All our samskaras and vasanas which are deep down in our subconscious all have to be cleansed, one after another, one after another. Then this knowledge gets stabilized. This knowledge becomes a living, continuous embodiment, and that is the Jivan Mukti. And Jivan Mukti means freedom even while alive. That we know that we are not this body, we are that infinite self, and therefore we start living this immense dimension of Jivan Mukti. And even in Jivan Mukti there are different heights, and unraveling the higher and higher dimensions with greater and greater powers, greater knowledge, greater bliss, These are all the advanced Jnanayoga. And at the time of death, the person leaves the body voluntarily with utmost freedom, and the body is merged ultimately with the self, moving from Anandamaya Kosha to beyond. Then there is no return, and this is called the ultimate merger. Na punara vartate, na punara vartata iti. There is no return at this level. Apranaha, amanaha, shubraha, aksharat paratah paraha. That has been described as the Videha Mukti. There is no prana, there is no mind, there is no intellect here, and it is a state of purity. It is a state of absolute silence. It is a state of pure transcendence. It's called moksha. It is beyond the cycle of birth and death. It is a state of highest freedom, state of absolute bliss, state of total knowledge, and a state of absolute power. Power to create the whole universe and to destroy the whole world comes from that. Therefore, it is the pure consciousness. It is ever existing. It is unchanging. And these are the dimensions of consciousness that are described. That is the Videha Mukti, the total merger. A salt doll trying to measure the depth of the ocean loses itself, becomes one with the ocean, as Sri Ramakrishna said. And that is the whole schematic. This Jnanayoga is the path of intellect which raises us from the lowest level to the highest levels of perfection, reaches us to the moksha itself. That is the schematic. And we start off with the first verse. Arjuna, the great warrior, is in a big flux of turmoil. He feels very guilty. He says that, oh, I am doing such a big sin. Arjuna uvacha aho batamahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yadrajya sukhalobhena hantum swajana mudyataha. Oh, what a pity. What has happened to us? We have gotten into this tremendous sinful act of cutting down all our cousins, teachers, and the great people like Bhishma. And in that we are committing the biggest sin. For what purpose we are doing this? To get the kingship? To win the kingdom? For what? Yadrajya sukalobhena. It is to get the comforts of the kingship, to get all the affluence and wealth of possession of a kingdom. We are now engaged in killing our own people. The conflicts of Arjuna started bring out the concept of killing. Killing itself is bad, and what are we doing? Killing hundreds and thousands of people. And we are killing our own people, our own cousins and teachers. Selfishness at the base of our acts. And Arjuna says, now we have become too greedy of the sense pleasures through kingdom, and therefore we are in for a big sin. Therefore he thinks, is it not better to renounce and give up the whole kingdom to our own cousin Duryodhana and go over to probably Himalayas, rather than fight and create a bloodstream in the name of duty? Which is the better of the two? And it is with this set of conflicts that Arjuna is in a great fix, and there is